Brindleshire had always been a town haunted by its past. But in recent years, after the disappearance of so many souls and the sinister events that followed, it had become a town haunted by something else, something far darker, with a hunger that reached beyond mere memory. In Brindleshire, the residents kept their doors locked tightly, even in daylight, and none dared to speak the name of the alley. They knew better. Once Whispering Alley claimed you, it would never let you go. The alley's first victims were reduced to legend, but Rain's last attempt to contact the lost souls brought fresh terror to the present day. The few who dared to investigate Whispering Alley left shaken, hollow-eyed, burdened by visions of things too twisted for words. Yet there was a thirst for answers, especially among those who had lost someone to the alley's darkness. The records room at the Brindleshire Police Department held a secret trove of cases that the town had tried to forget, files kept in a locked drawer labeled, Cold Cases, Whispering Alley. Inside, the files were brittle with age, the ink fading on pages that detailed disappearances dating back to the 1800s. Officers handling the files claimed the documents left them feeling marked somehow. Those who opened them complained of sleepless nights, plagued by strange dreams of shadowed figures and disembodied whispers. One such file described the discovery of the Bone Man, an arrangement of human bones found hidden in a secret recess within the alley's walls in the late 1950s. It was pieced together with bones of varying ages, some newer and others so old they crumbled at a touch. The structure resembled a person, a macabre mannequin, with each bone attached to another by twisted strands of hair and aged, brittle sinew. Upon closer inspection, it was noted that each bone bore the same disturbing symbols carved meticulously into the surface. Though ancient, these symbols appeared fresh, as if etched by a newly sharpened blade. Forensic experts were baffled, and whispers spread that the bones came from past victims, assembled by someone, or something, who wanted to remember each life it had claimed. One retired detective, a man named Samuel Grant, recounted his eerie experience with the file. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd see it. That face. Or where the face should have been. It was watching me. It wasn't just bones. There was something there. I don't know how to explain it. It was like it was waiting for me to join it. Samuel left the force shortly after, becoming a recluse. Years later, he took his own life. In his final note, he'd scrawled, "The alley knows my name." As the stories grew, an underground network of paranormal investigators and dark tourists began spreading details of their own encounters in Whispering Alley. Many sought out the alley at night, hoping to catch a glimpse of the shadows said to lurk there. Several returned with disturbing artifacts, each item more gruesome than the last. One investigator, known as Carter Ross, described finding a bundle of letters in the alley, each written in a desperate scrawl. The letters were barely legible, stained with what appeared to be blood. They described an unknown person's torment. I hear them scratching. I see them just out of sight. They follow me home at night, whispering. Ross had planned to publish his findings online, but the letters disappeared from his possession that very night. In their place was a small doll made of straw, with black eyes that seemed to follow him. Horrified, Ross left Brindleshire and refused to speak of Whispering Alley again. If tales like Carter's and artifacts from this haunted alley intrigue you, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We'll bring you the most twisted, mysterious, and disturbing details from cases like these. Whispering Alley seemed to keep its treasures close, hidden from prying eyes. Over the years, investigators reported finding fragments of fabric caught on the alley's jagged stones. They were often torn, worn down with age, yet disturbingly familiar, a scrap of a floral scarf matching one that Emily Drayton had worn, the lace from Lydia Harper's blouse, a cufflink engraved with the initials SP that matched those of Professor Samuel Proctor. Each item seemed to hold a fragment of a person's essence, preserved like relics of a twisted shrine. The most disturbing of these artifacts was a set of teeth, discovered in a small, dust-covered box hidden in the alley's cobblestone wall. They were human, each one engraved with a single word. When placed together, they formed a chilling sentence: "We see you." Forensic tests were inconclusive, and no identification could be made. The Brindleshire police, citing a lack of evidence, buried the discovery in the archives, the files stamped inconclusive. But the officers who handled the case couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Some reported hearing faint whispers after handling the box, voices that seemed to echo, "Join us." Locals began to share rumors that Whispering Alley was more than a mere street, it was a sentient, living force. Some claimed that the alley chose its victims deliberately, people it could sense would not be missed, or those who harbored some secret darkness in their hearts. One unsettling theory suggested that the alley fed off these lost souls, consuming their memories and essence, leaving behind only fragments as reminders of their existence. In 2010, a forensic psychologist, Dr. Helen Wakefield, attempted to study the pattern of disappearances linked to Whispering Alley, hoping to find some rational explanation. She spent weeks conducting interviews and reviewing case files, gradually assembling a profile. She became convinced that the alley held a unique psychological power, drawing its victims into a trance-like state where they were more vulnerable, more susceptible to suggestion. But her findings took a dark turn when she began experiencing strange occurrences herself. Late one night, while reviewing notes in her office, she heard scratching sounds coming from the walls, faint at first but then unmistakably clear. She reported seeing shadows moving in her peripheral vision, dark forms that vanished whenever she turned to look. Colleagues noticed her demeanor changing. Dr. Wakefield grew withdrawn, distracted, muttering to herself about the watchers in the dark. Her final research notes were scribbled hastily, almost incoherent. It's not just a place. It knows. It's searching, it wants something. She vanished a week later, leaving behind only a single recorded audio file that ended with her whispering, "Do you see me?" Following Dr. Wakefield's disappearance, the few remaining police officers in Brindleshire took drastic measures to contain the alley's influence. They barricaded both entrances with iron gates, covered in charms and runic symbols, said to repel dark spirits. But despite these efforts, locals claimed that the gates did little to keep the curse contained. People still heard the alley's whispers, faint but insistent, and those who lived nearby reported strange dreams, vivid and unsettling. One resident, elderly Mrs. Lorna Whitaker, had lived beside Whispering Alley her entire life. She was a witness to the alley's cursed legacy and had seen dozens vanish over the years. She swore that the alley was alive and described her chilling encounters with its shadows. Asterisk, they look like people, but they're not. They have eyes that see through you, cold and empty. And they always ask the same question, "Do you see me?" In her final days, Mrs. Whitaker warned the townsfolk to never acknowledge the figures, to never respond. She claimed that the moment one answered, the alley would know their voice, and from that point on, they were marked. They, too, would vanish, leaving nothing behind but another whisper. Eventually, Brindleshire grew emptier, as the few remaining residents moved away, tired of the constant fear and haunted by the town's grim history. Whispering Alley remained untouched, its iron gates rusting, yet no less foreboding. On stormy nights, faint lights could be seen flickering along the alley walls, and those who ventured close reported hearing soft voices that seemed to drift out from the shadows. Each voice repeated the same haunting refrain, "Do you see me?" As Brindleshire faded into obscurity, urban legends about Whispering Alley spread, passed between teenagers on darkened streets and shared by campfires. They said that if you dared to walk Whispering Alley alone at midnight, you'd hear your name whispered back to you, spoken in a voice that didn't belong to anyone in this world. Those brave enough to look back might catch a glimpse of the shadowed figures watching from the alley's depths, each a remnant of a lost soul forever trapped in its twisted grasp. The legacy of Whispering Alley lived on, a dark scar on the heart of Brindleshire, claiming anyone who dared to seek its secrets. For the alley was a force beyond understanding, a living, breathing entity with a hunger that could never be sated. And it waited, ever patient, for its next visitor, the next soul to lose itself within its haunted walls, to become part of the endless, whispering shadows. If stories like this keep you on the edge of your seat, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Whispering Alley is only one of the many dark tales lurking in forgotten towns, waiting to be told. Join us as we uncover the mysteries that refuse to stay buried, and remember, sometimes the shadows are watching back. In the end, Brindleshire became a ghost town, haunted not by its missing souls but by the terrible legacy of the alley that had claimed them. Abandoned houses lined the streets, their windows dark and empty, as if even the structures themselves had succumbed to the curse. And Whispering Alley, hidden behind those iron gates, sat silently, biding its time, its secrets buried yet unforgotten, echoing with whispers of the lost. The legend lives on in stories shared across forums and hushed whispers, drawing the curious and the foolhardy to Brindleshire in search of proof. Some say that once you know of Whispering Alley, it finds a way to creep into your dreams, calling to you, leaving a haunting question that lingers long after you've awakened. Do you see me?